There was a fellow, a young man that he became close to Chabad. I think this happened in Chicago. I have to look up the story. Anyway, so he became close to Chabad. He started going to the classes of Chabad, and and he started to go to Shabbat and started doing commandments, and he became a religious Jew. But he had a sister, and his sister, it was a little bit boring for her, this whole idea of Torah and the commandments. It was too mundane, too mundane. She wanted experience. She wanted to have, enlightenment and revelations. And this she saw was promised by all these Eastern religions. So somehow she got involved in one of these Eastern religions, and she found out that there's like thousands of them, and there's all these different gurus that each one has his own. Anyway, somehow or other, she went from one to the other until finally she found one that she really, it really spoke to her soul. And she went to India, and she devoted herself to this particular group, and they were fasting and experiencing and seeing and feeling. And it was everything that she dreamed about. Anyway, so it was only a matter of time that she was going to become totally initiated into this group. And she was going to become like a priestess or something, a Kohaness or whatever. Because she got the whole system down. She got the whole thing down, and all the methods and all the meditations and all the the mantras and the bowings and the things in the fast. She got the whole thing down. And so she was on her way to, the sky is the limit, like they say. And so, but somehow or other, she came back home. She came back home for a brief stay. Maybe it was just to say goodbye to her parents before because she was going to give her life over to this thing and never come back again, because that's one of a main, step in these Eastern religions. You have to just give up your past. You're being born right now. You have no mother, you have no father, the spirit is your father, or whatever it is. You have to give up your family and give up everything. Not all of them, but anyway, it's a very basic thing. And usually it's a basic thing in most religions, let's put it that way. Judaism definitely is not. There's a big stress put on family and home and things like we just finished learning, the upper unity, the lower unity, to be together. But in any case, so that was her thing. Whatever her motivation was, she was going to come back home for the last time. And, say maybe her parents didn't know that this was the last time, but nevertheless, she came. And so her brother asked if she would please come to her and talk to the rabbi, because he realized that she was really going off the edge. So she went and she came to talk to the rabbi, and the rabbi gave a lecture before he spoke to her. He gave a lecture, and it happened to be that the class was on monetary laws. Monetary laws. If a person loses something, that he has to return it, and the laws of returning and laws. And so she piped up in the middle of the thing and said, "What's this monetary laws? Nobody should own anything anyway. What's this person you have to give back to somebody?" Says no one should have any possessions, and no one should desire. If everyone was enlightened, as no one would want to steal anything that anyone else did claim as theirs. Right? People that are on a lower level, that they still think that they have to have their own possessions or whatever, they don't care. So the rabbi tried to explain that God wants us to have possessions, and he wants us to go according to the laws. By her, it didn't go at all. She just realized that the rabbi was simply on a lower level of consciousness, and he was stuck in this old, Judaism, business where there was no spirituality whatsoever. It was just doing these laws and this. So she went back to India. That's it. She went back to India, and she was. They were happy to see her, etc. And she got that. That's it. Then came the big day when they were going up to the top of this mountain, this big hill or whatever it was. And on top of the mountain, she would make these offerings and, be initiated into the upper echelons of, the spiritual ranks or whatever. So she's going up the mountain. Well, it happened to be that as they were going up, So she noticed that there was a wallet on the ground. It must have been that there were other people, other travelers, whatever, and someone must have lost their wallet. So the leader, who was like the paradigm of holiness and spirituality and all this stuff, so he saw the wallet and he, how do you say, deftly and smoothly just picked it up and put it into this little pouch that he has. So she doesn't have any questions on her leader. The leader, this is the great, fearless leader. He's the one he's calling all the shots. He knows what's really going on. He knows what, but this puts a little bit of a question in her mind. What is she? So she says to him, the leader, he doesn't want possessions. What's he got to do with possessions? He's a spiritual man. He's being provided for by nature or whatever. So she says to him, is the great leader, we're going to announce this. He said, no, what the powers have brought into my hands remain in my hands. So she said, you're not going to announce this thing back? She says, no, I'm not going to announce it because it could be a lot of money. Maybe somebody's going to miss it. So this is what the powers have ordained. This is what I want. So she goes up to the top of the mountain. She's up to the top of the mountain. She's remembering what the rabbi said about possessions and how you have to give back possessions, and that God wants us to have possessions. He wants us to return possessions to the rightful owners. And she's thinking, what is this guy, what's he got this wallet for? All of a sudden, I thought he was like the paradigm of spirituality. And suddenly he's interested in a few, dollars or whatever. So she starts thinking, so she says to him, listen, I don't think I'm ready for this. I think if one has doubts, then one has to purify himself. So she said, yeah. So she went back down. She thought about it for a while. And she said she wants to go into town and think about it. And that's it. She left. She came back. And she realized that she was making a big mistake. That first of all, the leader was a big faker. And he was claiming that he didn't want anything physical. And secondly, she realized that, the real problem was wanting things that are physical is not wrong. But wanting things that are physical that don't belong to you is wrong. And he wanted to say that nothing belongs to you. And so he was lying, and he was also a thief, in addition to being lying, that he didn't care about anything. Suddenly, when things came into his hands, suddenly all of a sudden it did make a difference. So the point of the story is that's the whole idea of the giving of the Torah. The giving of the Torah. Let's see, I think maybe even says the name. Does it say the name? No. 1 minute. No. It says the name of the shliach, of the Chabad emissary. So that's the idea of the upper unity and the lower unity. The upper unity says that all there is God. That's all there is God. And the lower unity says all there is the world. That's all there is the world. The upper unity says God is creating the world, but the world is nothing really important. And the lower unity says that maybe God is creating the world, but God is not really very important. And the idea is just to unite them together. That God is creating the world, and he wants us to have possessions, but he wants us to have possessions according to the Torah. And one of those things is that we have to return possession. We shouldn't lie or cheat in order to obtain our possessions that we have. But the world is good. The world is very good. The world is infinitely better than in heaven. In heaven, you don't have these chances and temptations that you have to overcome and opportunities to do good things. The world, as it says in the sixth day of creation, the world is very good. And man essentially is also very good. You don't have to leave your personality and leave your this, and you're a sinner and you're bad and you have to go away. That's a lie. And this girl realized that lie. And that's the whole idea of Judaism, is to make the creator revealed in the creation, and for the creation to reveal the creator, how important and good and happy this world really is, essentially, and how we can make it and reveal it. And that's the idea of Mashiach. Now, have a good Shabbos, everybody. God bless you all, and see you next week, Sunday, 8:15.